In this video, I'll be covering problems 31 through 35 from the ACT practice booklet from the math section on practice test number 2. So problem 31 says, the sign of A is positive, the sign of B is negative. If it can be determined, what is the sign of the mean of A and B? So you know that the mean of A and B would be A plus B divided by 2. So from this, you know that based on the values that you find for A and B, that the mean could either be, the sum of A and B could either be negative or positive. So it might be tempting to put C, both positive and negative, but what if A equals -2 and B equals 2? Then A plus B would be 0, so the mean would be 0. So because it could either be positive, negative, or 0, none of these answers really fit with that except for E, cannot be determined from the given information. And this one, they're really trying to trick you with this one, so you just kind of have to think through it slowly and think through the possibilities that A or B could be. So next for problem 32 through 34, they use this figure that they give you. So about the figure it says, the curve y equals 0.005 x squared minus 2x plus 200 for 0 is less than or equal to x is greater than, 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 200. And the line segment from F, 0, 200 to G, 200, 0 are shown in the standard XY coordinate plane below. So problem 32 says, what is the y coordinate for the point on the curve with x coordinate 20? So for this one, it could be tempting to just look at the graph and see what the point on the curve would be. But what I would do is, because this scale is so big, you can't really tell what the point would be just from looking at the graph. So I would just put this function into your calculator under, so y equals 0.005 x squared minus 2x plus 200. Then I would go to second graph to get to table, and then plug in. So they're asking about x coordinate 20, so you just put x in here. And then, yep, there you go. So the y value for that is 162. So, therefore your answer would be G, 162. Okay, so then 33 says, the length of this curve is longer than line segment FG. About how many coordinate units long is FG? So because this thing just looks like a triangle to me, I would just use the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared to find the length of FG. So this side A would equal 200, and then B would equal 200 again. So it would be 200 squared plus 200 squared equals c squared. And then at this point, I would plug it into your calculator. So 200 squared plus 200 squared, and then you take the square root of that to get to c. So c would equal 282.8, which on the answer sheet would round to 283. So that would be D, 283. Okay, so problem number 34. Tran wants to approximate the area underneath the curve y equals 0.005 x squared minus 2x plus 200 for 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 200, shown shaded in the graph below. So the area under the curve would be this region right here. So he finds an initial estimate A for the shaded area by using FG and computing A equals 1/2 times 200 units times 200 units equals 20,000 square units. The area of the shaded region is, and then it gives you options based on the answer that Tran found. So it looks like to me that he found this area because he used the formula for the area of a triangle, which is A equals 1/2 base times height. And in this case, the base would be 200 and the height would also be 200, so it would be 1/2 200 times 200. So, but the area of the shaded region is this area right here. So he found this whole area, but you wanted to find this area. So it looks like that the answer would be F. The area of the shaded region is less than 20,000 square units because the curve lies under FG. Because this area of the triangle that he found is greater than the shaded area just because this lies under it. Okay, next problem. Get some more paper. Okay, so problem number 35 says, a cargo ship is 4.2 miles from a lighthouse and a fishing boat is 5.0 miles from the lighthouse, as shown below. The angle between the straight lines from the lighthouse to the two vessels is 5 degrees. The approximate distance in miles from the cargo ship to the fishing boat is given by which of the following expressions? Note, the law of cosines states that for any triangle with vertices A, B, and C, and the sides opposite those vertices with lengths A, B, and C respectively, C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. So, right away, you know that you'll be using the law of cosines for this problem, just because it gives it to you in the problem. That's kind of a clue that I like to look for. If they take the time to give you some law, it usually means that you should use it to solve the problem. So I'm just going to draw the triangle out here. So this is 5 degrees, 4.2. So cargo ship, fishing boat, and then, oops, this is the lighthouse. So, and then I'll also write out the law of cosines because you should use that. Okay, so for the law of cosines, it can be kind of confusing, but so it doesn't matter which vertices you assign as long as the angle opposite each vertice corresponds to it. So for example, if you assigned so for this problem you are trying to find the approximate distance from the cargo ship to the fishing boat. So that would be this distance here. And so I would assign this to be small c, because the small letters are usually used for side lengths, whereas the big ones are used for angles, because this law of cosines expression just gives you c squared. So, and then what I was saying earlier is that you just have to be consistent about which angles are opposite the sides. So because this one is side C, you know that this angle here has to be angle big C because it's opposite this side C. And then it doesn't really matter which one you assign to be A or B in this situation because you'll just be adding them and multiplying them. So let's say that this would be A and then this would be B. So then using the law of cosines, c squared equals a squared, which is 4.2 squared, plus 5.0 squared minus 2 times 4.2 times 5.0 times the cosine of big C, which is the angle opposite side C, so cosine of 5 degrees. Oops, sorry, that looks like 50, but it's not. So 5 degrees. And so then C, which is the distance between the fishing boat and the cargo boat, would just be the square root of this. which on the answer sheet is B. C equals the square root of 4.2 squared plus 5.0 squared minus 2 times 4.2 times 5.0 cosine of 5 degrees. So then some tips from this video would be to, again, I know I've said this before, but when it gives you like a general situation, like I think it was problem 31 where the sign of A is positive and the sign of B is negative, and it's asking you what the sign of the mean of A and B is. I usually just like to, you can just even do this in your head with really small or simple numbers, just to run through some situations to check out what they say. So see if you can make, for this problem, I'd see if I can make the mean positive, negative, or 0, and then that would lead me to the answer that it can't be determined from the given information. And then another one, like on problem 32, where it gave you an expression and you had to find the y value given an x value, I would just plug it into my calculator, even if they give you a figure, just because you don't know if the figure is to scale and you can't really see very clearly what x value would correspond to a certain y value. So I would just always plug those into my calculator and use table to find the y value. And then another thing to do is just before you take the test, make sure to review your geometry, because like we saw the problem with the law of cosines, and a lot of the problems deal with area or volume, so it's just beneficial to have a good understanding of that.